Part 1 of our trip to London covered the sail down the River Deben. Part 2 covered the trip across the Thames estuary. Part 3 covers our passage through the Swale and up the River Medway. We had picked up a mooring off Hearty Ferry for the night and woke to a peaceful dawn. I took the opportunity to show you the 27-foot Sitka from below decks. A snug saloon with 2 bunks and a galley, with Peter frying up an English breakfast of sausage, egg and bacon. A small fridge with essentials like beer, wine and tonic water, and some food. The heads, hanging locker and V-berth, now the baggage area.
V-berth.
The Swale is Old English for rushing water, and it's still the same with 2-knot tides. Registered as a site of special scientific interest, a national nature reserve and a special protection area, it is home to a fifth of Britain's breeding population of avocets and a sixth of Britain's marsh harriers. Oh, and lots of seals.
Okay. All right, she's away. Goodbye, mooring. Thank you for the night. On our way, slightly weedy foredeck. Cleaner than an anchor. Thames barge. Away, we're away.
The Swale has interesting tides working from both ends and meeting somewhere in the middle, similar to the deeper waters of the East River in New York I sailed in 2012. A couple of foot in places at low water, we needed to use the 20-foot tide range to accommodate our 5-foot draft. On the flood, the Swale fills from both ends. However, for the first hour of the ebb, the whole Swale flows from west to east. Then, the flow reverses above Queensborough. Then every 15 minutes later, the reversal moves a mile eastward, till at mid-ebb, the watershed remains near the middle of the Swale. So it is easier to take the ebb from west to east, but going the other way we had to buck the first of the ebb coming from the east before we could get over the watershed and take the ebb the other side into the River Medway. The Kingsferry Bridge is a combined road and railway vertical lift bridge connecting the Isle of Sheppey to Kent and opened in 1960. It lifts 83 feet about 20 times a day for shipping. The new high-level road bridge, the Sheppey Crossing, was opened in 2006 and is 115 feet clear above the Swale. Quite why it was built over 30 feet higher than the old rail bridge I haven't found out. We just missed an opening and had to wait an hour for trains to pass.
Waiting for an hour.
Now with the ebb with us, we passed Queensborough and their new pontoon and harbour master's office. Admiral Lord Nelson is reputed to have learned many of his seafaring skills in these waters, and also shared a house near the small harbour with his mistress, Lady Hamilton, and probably learnt some more skills. Sheerness ahead with an ugly car transporter unloading at the dock. Rounding the Cardinal to port, we left the Swale and entered the River Medway for an exhilarating run upriver against the tide.
Garrison Point.
The 800-foot, 244-metre high chimney, the second highest in the UK, dominates the skyline for now. The Isle of Grain power station was an oil-fired power station built next to the British Petroleum Kent oil refinery. The power station opened in 1979 and the BP refinery next door closed 3 years later, which exposed a lack of joined-up thinking. It only reached just over a third of its design capacity, mothballed in 2003 and started to be demolished in 2014 because it didn't meet emission requirements. Running up the Medway with the fresh breeze, we passed a few yachts, making heavy weather of it beating to windward. Kingsnorth Power Station was a coal-fired power station opened in 1973 and shut down in 2010 after a fire damaged one of the pump rooms. A replacement power station was proposed but shelved after protests.
This is the life.
After jibing round the bends, we luffed up in Gillingham Reach and dropped the main before it got too crowded, and continued running under Genoa, through the trots of Medway Yacht Club and Upnor Sailing Club. Past the entrance to Chatham Marina, where we planned to spend a couple of nights, we sailed on to explore the historic Medway before returning later. Pump House number 5 with its intricate brickwork, now under restoration. A fine example of Victorian design and execution by master bricklayers. Look at the elliptical curve of the soldier course of the arches. The massive Chatham dockyard sheds, the first one still a working boatyard, the next a museum. The dry dock gates now home to static warship displays. Chatham was established as a royal dockyard by Elizabeth I in 1567 and for over 400 years provided over 500 ships for the Royal Navy. Closed in 1984, part is now run by the Chatham Historic Dockyard Trust.
Boats on pontoons, they weren't here last time I was here. It was just that old tug up against the ship, the wall. The command house. These industrial units are new. Last time I was here, mind you, it was 25 years ago. Pretty low water.
The chalk hills of the North Downs have been breached at this point, forming a river cliff at Strood rising to 100 feet. The fixed Rochester Bridge was as far as we could go. Rochester Cathedral and Castle were built over 800 years ago, guarding the Roman road called Watling Street, and Rochester Bridge, the first bridge over the River Medway. The cathedral was built on the old priory of St Andrew, consecrated in the year 604. Back to Chatham Marina and through the lock and into the well-appointed marina. A floating yacht broker's office.